All right, come on, let's go over to the laptop. Hi, I'm Ramblin' Recruiter, CEO of XYZ Corporation. Welcome to your Hirevue Video Interview. This is the first step in the recruitment process with XYZ Corporation. We're here today to assess your skills, knowledge, and experience and see if you'll be a good fit for our organization culturally and technically. Now I know talking to a camera can be a little bit unnerving and a little bit unnatural, but I don't want you to be nervous. Just take your time, be yourself, and things will go exceptionally well. I will see you back here at the conclusion of your interview, and I wish you the best of luck. Man, that CEO seemed like one heck of a stuffed shirt with his fleece vest and everything. Well, let's dig into it, shall we? Please take a few minutes to tell me about yourself. Give me an introduction to you. Tell me about yourself, or this can also be framed as introduce yourself. This question is as ubiquitous as it is vexing to most people. Most people have no idea how to even approach this question, and on a Hirevue Video Interview, you've only got 3 minutes. Take notes on how I do this and try to hit the same points in your answer. Hi, my name is Darren B. I have been involved in recruiting and talent acquisition for basically my entire career since I transitioned out of the U.S. military in 2006. I have advanced through different positions of greater responsibility, starting on the recruitment agency side and moving on to the in-house corporate recruiting side, from a sourcer to a full-cycle recruiter to a recruitment manager, and now a talent acquisition director. I've spent the bulk of my experience in pharmaceuticals and life sciences, but I've also worked in technology companies, and I've worked in both blue chip Fortune 500 companies and very small venture capital funded startups. So I've got a lot of different types of experience. I like to say that I've seen everything as it relates to talent acquisition, and there's no type of search that I haven't conducted in the past. Outside of work, I enjoy coaching football. I have been coaching football for 7 years now and have actually recently taken on the role of the director of our town's football league. I enjoy spending time with my family. I like to walk my dogs, and I have 5 pets living at home with me. 3 dogs, a bird, and a bearded dragon. So we like to refer to our house as the zoo. Please take a few minutes to explain why you want to work here. What is it about this position that interests you? Why do you want to work here, or what interests you about this position? These questions are interchangeable. They're one and the same. It's a lazy question. It's, basically on every interview guide that's ever been created, but it does give you some insight into the candidate. It can even be a little bit confrontational at times. Here's a great example of how to answer this question that you can adapt to fit your own needs. I was really excited to hear about this opportunity at XYZ Corporation, not only because it so closely matches the experiences I've had in the past, but it seems like it's a very mission-driven company that's in the early building phases and looking to put in place a world-class talent acquisition function. With the recruiter initially, I definitely touch on every major bucket of areas of responsibility that you're looking for. But more importantly, I've got demonstrated accomplishments in each of those areas, and I could spend all day talking through some of those. I really believe very strongly that I am uniquely positioned to contribute a lot to this organization, and I'm totally aligned to the mission. So I would very much like to be considered further. Please give me an example of a time you dealt with a difficult coworker or had a conflict with someone at work. The difficult coworker or conflict at work question is one that constantly comes up on job interviews. It's very, very common. There's a lot of different ways that you can answer it. Just don't say that I've never had any disputes with any coworkers or never faced any conflict at work. Here's an example. A difficult coworker. Yeah, I can remember one time working for a recruitment agency called Staffmark. I had a colleague named Jeff, and Jeff was a little bit high-strung, and Jeff was a little bit stressed out. And every time something didn't quite go Jeff's way, he would start yelling and arguing with people, and he liked to get into arguments with our boss on almost a daily basis. And sometimes those would escalate to the point that Jeff would quit and pack his stuff and walk out and disappear for an hour or so. And in the process, he would disrupt not only us in our little area, because I shared like a 4-person cubicle with him, but really everybody in the office, and just turned everything into a disaster. I dealt with him by empathy, right? Yeah, Jeff was annoying. Jeff was a little high strung, but I also tried to see things from his perspective. Jeff felt like he was not getting a fair shake or a fair deal, or that the boss was being particularly hard on him. And Jeff was a little bit sensitive to those types of things. So I just tried to put myself in his shoes and understand where he was coming from, and that he wasn't really quitting and he wasn't really walking out. He was causing a scene because he wanted somebody to take his side. And I didn't always agree with his side, but I would, to him, support him. And that would usually de-escalate him and make him feel better. And then he would come back to work as if nothing happened. So this happened many, many times. So I definitely learned from that experience that just a little bit of empathy and a little bit of encouragement and support can go a long way to de-escalating a situation. Why did you leave your previous position? Well, this could fall into one of two categories. Number one, you left voluntarily, as in I resigned, quit, walked out, whatever the case may be. Or number two, you left involuntarily, you were fired. In either case, honesty is the best policy, but put a positive spin on it. Simple, to the point, truthful. My previous position was eliminated. It was very unfortunate because it was kind of like a dream job for me. I was doing great, meaningful, important work with a great team. And as a result of a divestiture of about 1/3 of the company, which resulted in 7,000 employees being offboarded, somebody got the idea in their head that we just didn't need as many HR people anymore. So a big Kaizen project happened, and as a result of that, my position, along with a number of others, were eliminated. And then other positions weren't exactly eliminated, but they were moved, some to Tampa, Florida, and some to Costa Rica, offshored. So as a result of that, I have to admit they were very gracious, they were very generous. I got plenty of notice, and I got plenty of severance, and I was, able to very comfortably land. It was a little bit of a blow for sure, because I kind of saw myself staying there for the duration. But that's life, and I'm excited and happy to be pursuing new opportunities. Tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is a tricky question because, of course, you want to advance, and you want to let them know that you want to advance, but you also don't want to present yourself as a threat to your future boss. So approach with delicacy. Check this example. In 5 years, I see myself working with a good organization where I am continually challenged and continually learning something new. To me, that's really more important than job titles, than money per se. I mean, of course, money is important, but the thing that scares me more than anything else in life is stagnation. It's being in the same place for 20, 30 years at a time with no progress. And I like to learn new things. I'm naturally an intellectually curious person. 5 years, I could be very comfortable right here in this same position as long as I'm continually challenged and continually learning. But as I gain new experience and have new contributions to add to the organization, I would like to see my career advance. What unique skills and experience do you possess that set you apart as a top candidate for this job? What unique skills do you possess that makes you a top candidate for this job? Or why should we hire you? These two questions are pretty much interchangeable. I can't tell you specifically what skills, knowledge, and experience that you possess, but you can check my example and build your answer off of that. I think I've got a number of unique skills that really set me apart from other candidates, not the least of which is the fact that my experience touches on both the big established Fortune 500 blue chip, very stuffed shirt, very mature talent acquisition functions who are performing at a very high level, have all the technology in the world, have all the partnerships in the world, and have a lot of human capital to drive things forward. And at the same time have experience in a tech startup where there's 3 of us all wearing different hats, going 100 miles an hour on any given day. Projects and priorities can change. We don't have the budgets, we don't have the technology, we don't have the partnerships, and we don't have the name brand recognition. So being able to kind of operate in both of those environments, I think is really important to a role like this. Additionally, I've had direct experience with the recruitment software that you're using for this role, which is a benefit. It certainly shortens the onboarding and kind of train and ramp up time. And I've managed a considerable team of 16 individuals in the past. This role requiring direct people management experience, I'm a servant leader. I believe I can add a lot to the organization in that regard. Please give me an example of a time you showed persistence or dealt with rejection. How did you deal with it? How did you recover? This is obviously a behavioral question, so make sure your answer is in the STAR format. This question is designed to help the interviewer understand, can you bounce back quickly from a setback? Yeah, I can give you an example of a time I showed persistence and dealt with rejection. So back in 2008, you probably remember the recession. It was not pretty. It was ugly for everybody. And at the time, I was working for a recruitment agency on straight commission. So this was a very, very challenging time to be a recruiter and to be working on commission. It was really tough. And I finally, after months and months and months of work and negotiating with companies, trying to find a company that would pay a fee for a hire, which was not easy at that time. There were so many people just unemployed and looking for work. But I finally had an offer for a candidate for an internal audit position at a local credit union. And I was over the moon because this fee was going to cover my draw for the last 3 months. I was going to get back to even. Everything was going to be great. And the candidate ended up rejecting the job. Now, all throughout this process, the candidate's been begging me, please get me this job. It's so tough out there. I haven't gotten a sniff. I have no other interviews, nothing else going on. I'm desperate. Please help me. And I put everything I had into influencing the CFO of this credit union to hire this guy. And he turned it down because he got another offer that was paying a little bit more. And as a result of that, I had to go back to the CFO and tell her, I'm so sorry. He turned the offer down. And she was none too thrilled, especially after I had used so much influence and political capital to try to get him the offer. So long story short, I had to then go back to square one and start recruiting on this position again. And the first 3 or 4 candidates I sent through, nobody could measure up. They were immediately eliminated from consideration by the CFO because nobody was that one guy that we can't have. And it took a lot of work, not only to continue sourcing quality candidates, but also to kind of rebuild my credibility and rebuild some ability to influence and get her to see the candidates as individuals, not everybody compared to the one person that we can't have. And as a result of that, it took some time, but I did eventually get an offer for another candidate who accepted the role. And happy days were here again. Please give me an example of a time you dealt with an angry customer. This is an extremely common question in service-related roles. In fact, in just about every customer-facing role out there, from flight attendants to McDonald's staff, you're going to be asked this question. But even in positions that aren't customer-facing, it's very good to understand that a person gets the concept of de-escalating conflict. De-escalate, show empathy, show commitment to making it right, and stay within the company's policy. Those are the 4 major buckets. Angry customers. Well, certainly I've dealt with angry customers in my earlier career, especially when I was in college, when I was working as a waiter for an Italian restaurant in Boston's North End. But I think a more recent example would be when working for a recruitment agency. There was an individual who came to me through referral as a candidate who was looking to make a change from his current job, and he made it very clear that he was pursuing all avenues and he was 100% committed to finding a new position and getting out of the place where he was. And knowing a little something about the company he worked for, can't say that I blame him. But in any case, he had a very non-traditional background. He didn't have a finance or accounting degree. And yet he was a financial controller for this company because he had come up through the ranks and just kind of found himself in that role. And it was very difficult with his non-traditional background to get other companies to kind of see him at the same level that he was with the company he was currently with. So this was a real challenge. And, there were a number of weeks went by where I just had no interviews for him. Sorry. He would call me every other day to check in. Any progress? Sorry, no progress at this point. We're really running up against the brick wall here. And he became very angry. He started yelling at me over the phone, called me useless, wanted to speak to my boss, threatened to try to have me fired. And, I was very calm about the whole thing. I didn't bite back. I didn't snap back at him. I said, look, my boss's name is Dale Pearson. You're welcome to talk to him if you want. I'll give you his phone number. But I can't just make interviews appear out of thin air. I will continue to market your resume and your skills and your experience to the companies that I work with that I know could use somebody like you. But ultimately, the decision to bring you in for an interview is a little bit outside my control. My influence only goes so far. I think that de-escalated him some. It brought it down a little bit. And what I was really getting from him wasn't actually anger. It was more like frustration. But long story short, after a number of months of working with this individual, we did eventually get him some interviews. And I believe he did get hired someplace, but not at exactly the same salary he was making before.
What does integrity mean to you? Please give me an example of a time you've demonstrated integrity. The most important thing to remember about this question is it's not so much the definition that's important, it's the examples that you provide that show that you've lived those examples.
Integrity means to me choosing the hard right over the easy wrong and doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. And I'll give you a perfect example of a time when something like that came up. When I was working for one of my previous employers, a smaller pharmaceutical company, a recruitment agency who was very anxious to do business with us because they specialized in the types of positions that we were hiring for, and we had so many open positions, and they just felt like it was such a great synergy. And I said, look, I understand and appreciate that. I'm working with a few agencies right now, and we're not really considering anybody new on the vendor list unless there's some compelling reason why we should. Like, does your firm specialize in diversity hiring? Are you a minority or women-owned business? Are you a veteran-owned business? And they didn't check any of those boxes, unfortunately. So I said, look, send me your information. We'll keep in touch. And, when we do our vendor review towards the end of the year, maybe we can talk then. At that point, the individual I was speaking with offered to give me a kickback, offered to pay me a percentage of any fees that they earned from my company, and offered to do so in cash, so it would be off the books and under the table, just cash that I could put in my pocket. Turns out this is a somewhat common thing that happened. Maybe not common, but not totally uncommon thing that happens between agency recruiters and talent acquisition professionals internally. And I wanted nothing to do with it. I said, look, thanks for that offer, but I can't have anything to do with it. Even the perception of some kind of impropriety or inappropriate relationship is going to follow me around for the rest of my career, because there are people out there who are known as the kickback guys. And that's never a position that I want to be in, because it does follow you around for the rest of your career. Who doesn't like, free money in their pocket? But it's not right, because it's putting me in a position to unduly use influence to try to get somebody hired that maybe doesn't deserve the job because I think I'll get my kickback. And it's just not something that I really wanted anything to do with. That's, choosing the hard right over the easy wrong, because it would have been very easy to say, yeah, sure, send me your contract, I'll sign it, and we'll start doing business like that. It just didn't work for me.
Is there anything else you would like us to know about you? This is a great question because it gives you an opportunity to do a lot of things at the end of an interview. You can fix any answers you're not happy with. You can add to any answers that you forgot something on. You can give them your elevator pitch or your unique value proposition, and you can reiterate your interest and excitement about the position. Look, enthusiasm counts. It's infectious. What else would I want you to know about me? Look, I think I could summarize myself and my career pretty briefly. I am the talent advisor who has taken talent acquisition from a kind of back closet order taking, very transactional function where you say, okay, what are you looking for? Okay, how much you want to pay? All right, we'll get you that. To a strategic, valued business partner who, that's not my words, that's words of some of the business unit leaders I've worked with in the past who say, I value you as a strategic partner. Your insights and input and advice is sound and solid, and I am the person who will look a vice president in the eye and say, no, we can't do that. That is non-compliant. That's against the law. That's not right. We shouldn't do it that way. I don't get fearful around people with titles. What I get fearful of is stepping out of the realm of compliance and ending up with a problem if we were to ever get audited. So I am that talent advisor. I can help take this organization's talent acquisition function to new levels, and I really welcome the challenge and opportunity. Welcome back. See, now that wasn't so bad after all. If there's a fit, someone from our talent acquisition team will be getting in touch with you very soon to schedule the next round of interviews. I want to thank you for your participation in this Hirevue Video Interview. This helps us connect with more candidates in a shorter period of time and allows us to increase diversity by casting a wider net. We hope you've enjoyed this experience and wish you the best of luck in your job search. See, that wasn't so bad after all. Once you master those 10 questions, you're set, you're golden, you're good for life. You will pass every Hirevue video interview that is thrown your way for any company. So make sure you smile when you talk, make sure you use positive, upbeat language, and there's a few other things you can do to prepare for a Hirevue as well. Practice talking into the camera. This is very unnatural for most people, talking to a computer screen or a phone with no person on the other end of it, and it requires practice. So film yourself asking and answering questions. At first it's gonna look very cringy, but over time, you'll get more and more natural as you do it more. Act naturally and talk slowly. Look, you're not the 6 o'clock evening news anchor. Don't try to change the tone and inflection of your voice to sound like a television newscaster. Just speak slowly and speak normally. Speak in your normal voice and act naturally. Don't act all stiff and rigid like Frankenstein. And don't act all loosey-goosey like, Mr. Hand. Just be yourself. You can definitely impress a recruiter or a hiring manager and the AI algorithm quite a bit by demonstrating insider knowledge of the company. Always give structured, concise responses. Now, I go into a lot more detail on this in my videos on behavioral interviews, but each answer should follow a format. Situation, task, action, results. Check the videos in the pinned comment below if you need to know more about that. If seeing yourself in the video window is bothering you as you are recording your interview and you're having trouble looking at the camera, I suggest two things. Number one, hide your video. It's much easier to maintain eye contact with the camera if you're not staring at yourself. And number two, draw a little smiley face on a post-it note and stick it behind your webcam. That at least gives you a little something to make eye contact with. Sounds stupid, sounds trivial, but believe it or not, it works. Just have a little bit of fun with it. If you want to become an ace at video interviews, watch this playlist along with the 2 videos below in the pinned comment on behavioral interviews. Do that, and you will succeed. Enjoy the rest of your job searching day. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Peace.